Deb here. Ted and I have been getting over the flu, and I haven't had a chance to make too many videos, but I wanted to make one today on Spanish rice, meals in a jar. And I make mine a little bit meatier than other recipes I've seen in the past, and we don't make it as hot. You're going to be able to add as much chipotle and jalapenos and whatever you'd like to it, but we make it more northern style, which is a little milder. And I use both freeze-dried ground beef and freeze-dried sausage. But of course, you know me, I only use Honeyville when it comes to sausage because it's the only one I like. Today we're going to make Spanish rice in a jar. This is the dried recipe that we are going to add about 6 cups, 5.5 to 6 cups of water, and we are going to have a huge pan of Spanish rice. Okay, I'll just show you a few of the things I brought out. Although I'll give you a basic recipe at the beginning of this, down in the description column, I'm going to add a few things because I have a lot of leftovers from other canning jars that we've been making. I'm going to use some celery, dehydrated celery, some freeze-dried bell peppers. Now you could use dehydrated. I'm going to use tomato powder, some dehydrated onions, freeze-dried mushrooms, or you could use dehydrated mushrooms. I'm going to use my sausage crumbles. I like these. And I'm going to use ground beef. Now of course, we're going to need some rice. And we're going to need cayenne pepper. That gives it a little snap. Now what I like is a smoked paprika. If you don't have smoked, just use paprika. Maybe a Hungarian, something with a little bite to it. And then I use this Ancho powder. I had to order this over the internet. And I asked a friend of mine, a Mexican friend of mine, what this is, and she says, oh, it's just a special pepper. So if you have ancho peppers and you dry them and grind them up, why not use it? I'm going to use 1 bay leaf, just one, in every jar. I'm going to use some salt, and of course the old garlic. Gotta have garlic. And then we're going to use canning jars. And I already have probably well, I have a heck of a lot of these because we probably cook this once a week. My family loves it. And in order for me to have long-term storage plus one a week, well, you can imagine how much of this I make. When I go to work, this is great. Pop it in the oven. Within half an hour, you got a beautiful plate. Put some cornbread on it. You got a nice meaty rice dish. And you have some nice cornbread. So this is what we're going to make today. Let's zip over here. It's going to be meals in a jar. I'm going to make the first basic Spanish rice meals in a jar. And I'll show you the actual way, the first recipe I ever found. You need about 1.5 cups of ground beef. This is just the basic recipe. Now, you know I'm going to soup this up in a few minutes. After we make the first one, I'll soup it up. Then I'm going to take about 1.5 cups, about 1.5 cups of long grain rice. Now remember to shake these puppies up. Now you can put the rice in first. We're going to make all different kinds to show you how to make them pretty in case you're looking, maybe you're looking to give it away as a present. Now take about 1/2 cup of green peppers or mixed peppers. These are freeze-dried, but you can use dehydrated because it's going to cook long enough to rehydrate anything. Then I'm going to take about 1/2 cup of onion. Gotta have onion. This is Spanish rice. Okay, so we want some onion in there. Now comes the powder. Now, I'm not happy with that. Well, okay, I promised you to only do the basic recipe, and that's what I'm going to do. So, now that I have the onion in there, I'm going to take about 1/4 cup of tomato powder. And to be honest with you, if you're going to use your food saver, please put the powders in the bottom, because otherwise the food saver sucks it up and it could ruin your food saver. In this, I will use an oxygen absorber. If you use an oxygen absorber, it really doesn't matter if you put the powder on top or the bottom. So we will use an oxygen absorber for this. Okay, so we put in tomato powder. Now we want to take one bay leaf, put that in there. And then this is where you're going to just have to decide what you want. I'm going to take some smoked paprika. I'm going to use, I'm actually going to use a teaspoon. Do I follow a recipe? Oh, it's a basic thing. A recipe just tells you what to put in to your jar. It doesn't tell you have to. Alright, I'm going to take about a teaspoon of salt. Now we like salt, and you know what, I've made this before. The basic recipe says 1 teaspoon, but I'm telling you now, don't go with less than 1.5 unless you have a salt problem. Then of course don't do that. Then so I put in my smoked paprika, I put in my salt. I'm going to put in about 1.5 teaspoons of Ancho chili. It just has a nice smell to it, and I always put heaping teaspoons, so about 1.5 teaspoons of that. Alright, mix that. There's still a little bit of room in there. You could put something else if you want to, like, maybe some mushrooms. Some room in there. There we go. And that is our meals in a jar for Spanish rice. And then I'm going to take my oxygen absorber and put it in there, press it down, put my lid on top, and I'm going to seal it up. As I promised, I never do anything twice the same way. I don't think I ever do. So I'm going to take 1.5 cups of my rice. And the rice is very important. After all, this is Spanish rice. Then I'm going to put in a cup of hamburger. And I don't have a lot of my sausage left, but I'm going to go ahead and put in a cup of sausage. Now this will be a very meaty one. I'm going to put in about 1/4 of a cup of tomato powder. You know I love my tomato powder. See how pretty that looks? And on the Spanish rice, you're able to use the regular size jars. You don't have to get the big wide mouth like we have been using with everything else. We're going to put in 1/2 cup of onion. I love this recipe. I think I change it every time I do it. Alright, so now we have our rice. We have our meat. We have a good 2 cups, which you know that's going to double. And then we have our tomato powder. We have our onion. I'm going to put in a little bit of pepper, maybe 1/2 cup. This one's going to fill up pretty good. I guarantee you that. But push it down. Don't worry about it. Push it down. Maybe get a knife in there. I see a little room in there. Oh my goodness. Can't have that. Got to have everything down there. So then I get this. If you scoop it down a little bit, you have more room in your jar. And you can actually make that. Look how pretty that is. Goes down. See? Yeah, actually make it even prettier. Okay? And then we have just enough room, honestly, for our spices. So we put in our bay leaf. We put in our tomato powder. We're going to go with our smoked paprika, which is, well, the basic recipe says 1/2 teaspoon. So, of course, you know me, I'm going to go with probably a teaspoon. I'm going to go with a teaspoon of cayenne pepper. Now, if you like it hot, you go right ahead. We're northerners. I haven't gotten used to that yet. We are starting to like hot food, though. I gotta say, we're coming around. I'm gonna go with 1.5 teaspoon of ancho powder. Here you go. That's some kind of neat pepper. Of course, I gotta have my garlic. And we'll put the garlic in there. And we gotta have salt. You put in how much salt. You know, you don't really have to have salt. If salt's no good for you, don't use it. Alright, now this is just a little bit different Spanish rice. But I'm going to do the same principle. Okay, I'm going to use a, let's see, I gotta get the lamp. Alright. I'm going to use my oxygen absorber. By the way, I got these oxygen absorbers from the LDS cannery. It cost me about 10 cents a piece. Do you believe that? Those people are wonderful people. They don't try to make any profit off people, and this is considered their service to God to help people, no matter what faith you are. So look at that. Now that's a different one. See the difference? I got the meat in the bottom here. I got the rice in the bottom here. These are beautiful. These are just beautiful. And within, I'd say within 15 minutes, these are going to be nice and sealed. So as of now, I already got 3 jars. And remember what I told you, these are my leftovers. This is all the stuff I got left over from doing other videos. What if you want to use your own ground beef in a can? Well, you can make these same jars, but I would probably recommend you do it with a pint jar. And I'll show you how to do that. I have a lot of canned ground beef. So instead of using a quart, you'll use a wide mouth pint. And let's see how we can do that. We will take 1.5 cups of rice, okay? What we're going to do basically is put all the spices we would put in there. If it was, say we did have the meat, we'll put in our bay leaf there. We're going to put 1/4 cup of the tomato powder. You know, if you put 1/2 cup, so what? Is there something written in gold that says you can't have 1/2 cup of tomato powder? The difference is you just remember you need a little bit more water. Alright, now that's sort of pretty. There's that. Then I'm going to take we have the garlic, and we're going to put the ancho. Notice I'm getting bolder as I go. The ancho chilies, I'm putting in my smoked paprika, I'm putting in a little cayenne pepper. Oh, let's go for it. And I'm putting in some salt. Again, salt you can put in when you're actually cooking it. That's what you want. We always still wind up shaking some salt on it. Let's not forget our onion. Oh, that looks good. We're going to make it. Make sure that goes in there real good. Okay. Close it up. And about 1/2 hour. So now you could take this and this in one pot and you have Spanish rice. Or you have a vegetarian version of Spanish rice with no meat. It's how you like to make it. So I just wanted to show you that we got 9 jars, 9 quart jars of Spanish rice out of mostly leftovers. And I used dehydrated vegetables as well as I used freeze-dried. The one constant that I always use is freeze-dried meat.